in these, just like the name says, everything you do should be as powerful, as explosive as it possibly can be as you go through the movement. I go through a specific progression where phase 1, we focus on really controlling the movement, stabilizing our body, make sure it's in the right form, it's in the right position throughout the movement, and then exploding into the movements we go into. So that's going to progress as we get to as quick as possible by phase 3. But it's important to build this solid foundation right here at the beginning. So the first exercise is your eccentric broad jump. All that means is you're focusing on slowing down the motion as you come down into position to jump. It's something we'll eventually speed up, but right now we want to control it. We want to make sure it's balanced the whole way through. So for this one, you're going to start with your arms above your head. And when you go, you're going to slowly come down into this jumping position. So when you hit the bottom, you want your hands behind your hips. You want your knees to hips at about a 45-degree angle, depending on your height, depending on the length of your legs. It's different from person to person, but you want to aim for about a 45-degree angle, and you should be in a nice balanced position, toes, knees, hips, all in line, ready to explode out and jump as far as you can on these. So really try to be aware as you come down. If your hips are shifting to one side, that's a common error. If you're coming down too low in a position like that, then you're not able to explode. If your hips are too high, that from this position you still need to dip farther. All those are errors you want to correct at this point as we're building up that foundation. So it's nice and controlled, hit the bottom, and explode out as far as you can. We'll move from there into the eccentric vertical jump, which is the exact same thing, controlling on the way down, but now we're exploding up as high as you can. If you have some kind of box that you want to jump onto at this point, you can incorporate that, measure, track how high you jump. That's perfectly fine. If you don't, you can just do it from where you're at. That's perfectly fine. Everything's still the same. Keep your arms above you, control on the way down, hit this good jumping position, and explode up as high as you can. Make sure when you land, you have a good solid landing base, very similar, feet at shoulder width, toes, knees, hips in line, legs about 45-degree angle. You want to catch yourself there at the end. Now we're moving into some single leg work, and we're going to start with the single leg snap down. It's a little bit similar to what we've already done, except now you're on one leg, just like the RDLs we did in the warm-up. You're going to have a slight bend in your knee, and you're going to start with your arms above you, and your opposite leg as high as it can go. Start in this nice balanced position, and all you're going to do is, just like the name suggests, you're going to snap down into position, in this low jumping position on that leg, and hold it for 2 to 3 seconds. You're working on that balance every single time. If you have to touch your other foot down, that's perfectly fine. One of the things we're looking for is ways we can improve. Now that we worked on the single leg snap down, we're going to incorporate that same movement, but taking off of that same leg, and we're going to land on 2. That's going to help us keep a little bit more balance there, really work on that landing, that deceleration, that we're nice and balanced, just like I keep talking about, toes, knees, and hips in line, aiming for that 45-degree angle every single time that you're landing. Now, for this, I have 2 boxes. If you don't have something to use, that's perfectly fine. You can just do it in the air. It doesn't change anything. If you have a cone boxes, something you want to use to jump over, that's perfectly fine. Start it low until you get used to it and you feel really comfortable with what you're doing. But you're starting the same in the single leg snap down position. You're coming down, now you're jumping over that object and landing on 2 feet. You'll do the same thing on the way back. Next exercise is a lateral push recover. So you're going to start in a good athletic position. And here, I'm going to be going to my right the first time. You'll be going one to one side, one back to the other, so it doesn't really matter which side you start. But going to the right, I'm driving off my left leg, I'm getting out as far as I can, and I'm landing on 2 feet. Similar to what we just did with the single leg snap down and jump, but now it's coming from 2 legs. You're pushing out as far as you can, good balanced landing. Now we're going the exact same, the push recover, but now we're going to land in a sway stop. So this is good for practicing when we get up to changing direction. So everything's still the same, starting in that athletic position, driving off the outside leg. I'm going in the same direction, so when I go, I'm getting out as far as I can, but I want to land with a lean in the side I'm going to. So this is for when I'm changing directions, going back the opposite way. So I want that slight lean there in my leg, in my shoulders, staying nice and balanced and ready to explode out when we get to that point. Right now, we're just learning, sticking the landing, and really perfecting that. So stop, pause every time, look at your body, where you're at. If your feet are too close together, you know what to adjust for next time. If they're too far apart, same thing. One foot's in front of the other. You will keep on working and progressing and progressing. It's not going to be perfect from the start. So on that one, I'm not quite balanced. My right foot's a little behind my left. That's one of the things I'm still working on, going from my right to the left. Now the final exercise in the power phase has 2 different parts to it. And this one I really like for working on moving from out of position back into position. And it starts with the ground sprint. From there, what you're going to do is get down in a push-up form, except you're on the ground. So just like at the bottom. And when you go, you're going to push your chest up and drive your leg forward. This is one that we're going to do 6 times. Every time you do it, switch legs. So you get used to driving with each one. But that leg's going to drive forward, and you're coming out in that sprint as quick as you can. Now the second part of it, when you get to the end, we're going to do this over a 10-yard distance, have some kind of cone, line, something to mark where 10 yards is, and you're going to come to a full breakdown and stop. So when you come up to that distance, if I'm aiming for this right here, what I'm going to do is I'm getting up to full speed, and then I'm going to start slowing down my steps and trying to come to a complete balanced stop right there. You'll start to notice some things that your feet might not be even, your hips might be up too high, they might be too low. So you want to work on that, the acceleration to start, and then the deceleration there to come to a complete stop over that 10-yard period. I know it's hard to get the 10 yards in on this. That was actually 10 yards. Started back farther where you couldn't see. We're going to finish with our change of direction section. And for that, there's going to be 2 exercises. We'll do each a little bit differently. But the first one goes with one of the things we did earlier on in the power section, and that's going to be the sway stop. So what you're going to do on that is you're starting in that low position, you're bursting out into that sway stop just like we did before, leaning in the direction you're going to go, but now you're going to burst into a full sprint from that position. So you're starting on one end, we're aiming for about 10 yards, you're going to burst to the opposite side, get a good balanced landing, pause, make sure you're balanced, check yourself there, adjust if you need to, and then burst out into a sprint the opposite direction. Last exercise in the change of direction section is going to be coming from an athletic stance. You're going to get that good setup. You're going to sprint to a breakdown, similar to what we did for the ground sprint. So for this, you'll start out facing forward. I want you to do the first time with one leg, second time with the other leg, so you get used to bursting with both legs. But you're coming out up to full speed and hit that full breakdown at 10 yards where you come to that complete stop again. So you do 2 forward like that, the other is going to be with the other leg, then you're going to do 2 side, where you're pushing to the outside, and then 2 backwards. One you're going to turn one way, the next one you're going to turn the opposite way. Whew, almost tripped on that one. But you're done. Good first workout.